Donald Trump, uh, more written about than anybody in the world, probably. And you can watch a lot of stuff about him on social media, on television, on YouTube, and of course in newspapers. And I think a lot of the time, close to all the time, you're not really getting a sense of what he's like. I don't know him all that well. I've been talking to him off and on since 2011. And I know a lot of people who know him and speak to him regularly, and they all have a different sense of what he's like in so many ways from what you read about in see and hear in the media. And these Newt Gingrich and I got into this a little bit about his intelligence. But this topic is front and center in my mind because of all the stuff about Trump and Elon Musk. Much in the news because Elon Musk is now on the record on Twitter in particular opposing Donald Trump's reconciliation bill, his big tax and spending bill. That is the centerpiece of his domestic agenda. And people are saying to me, well, Trump must hate Musk. He must be privately seething. And I think what this made me think of is something that, again, I think I can share with you that will be useful to understand Donald Trump. Because in my view, what the Musk thing illustrates, and I'll give you a couple other examples besides Musk, is Donald Trump attitude towards people is, if not unique, it's certainly unusual. When he thinks about, most people think about somebody, it's binary. Like that person, don't like that person. And if you like that person, you like them and you focus on the reasons you like them. And if you don't like that person, negative, you focus on them. Donald Trump's a little bit different. Nothing is ever final with Donald Trump. And of course, not that long ago, Elon Musk was a big opponent of Donald Trump, and Trump mocked him on social media the way Musk mocked Trump, and then they became good friends. Donald Trump always assumes that somebody can come around again. Could be an enemy on Monday, but then by Wednesday they're your ally again. He doesn't see things in black and white. He sees a constant flotation of grays. You can always get back in his good graces if you do the right thing, just as you can get on his bad side if you do the wrong thing. Now, what's the right thing for Trump? Going on television and saying nice things about him. That's the basic route to get on his good side. But you can do that one day and then the next day do something he doesn't like. Musk has been on social media going directly at Trump's big domestic priority, but Trump doesn't really care. First of all, the attacks, at least so far, have not been personal. That matters to Trump. It's just a dispute about policy. And Trump, as Speaker Gingrich and I talked about, he knows how quickly things move and he knows how other people are motivated. It's commonly said now around Donald Trump that the reason Musk is opposing the bill is he felt slighted by AI policy, by EV policy, electric vehicle policy, and he felt slighted by the fact that his pal and associate was up to be the head of NASA, and then right before Musk left the White House, his nomination was withdrawn. Trump can like Musk intensely and also feel very negatively about him at the same time. He has that capacity. And he has it because, again, on one day he could be fine with Musk and next day out of sorts and then bounce right back. Most people are not as, let's say, flexible as Donald Trump is. And as I said, if you read about him, I've never seen this point made in all the coverage, including this week about Musk. I'd say the same thing with Putin, right? People say, well, Trump's constantly saying nice things about Putin, so he must have some secret, Putin must be blackmailing him, or he has some secret financial arrangement. It's just not the way Trump thinks about it. He can say nice things about Putin, and at the same time, think of him as a murderous dictator. He can say, well, today I'm going to try to make a deal with Putin, and tomorrow I'm going to, attack Putin or bomb Putin or help Ukraine. Trump is able to look at one person and see multitudes. And that's reflected in how he speaks about them publicly. It's reflected in how he thinks about them privately. On any given day, he can be positive about one person and then the next day negative about him. And so all this description of what's going on between Trump and Musk now tries to put it in a black and white box. Well, he used to like Musk a lot, but now he doesn't. It's just not the way Trump works. He may not like him momentarily, but he could say something nice about him and positive about him in one breath, and then literally in the next breath express his rage. And that goes to nearly everyone in Trump's orbit. It could happen with a cabinet secretary. It could happen with a White House staffer. It could happen with a member of Congress. He's just not binary in how he sees people. And I've seen this myself in my dealings with Trump. And again, I don't know him all that well. And most of what I'm saying about him now comes from having great conversations with people who do know him well. But when I think about my relationship with Trump, it started out very positive. And it really started because I did something that I said earlier is the best way for get Donald Trump to like you, although that wasn't my goal. I went on television, I said something nice about him, and he called me up and he invited me to Trump Tower. And we began to have conversations. This is back in 2011, well before almost anybody in the media took him seriously as a presidential candidate. And I did. And because I took him seriously, he began to be focused on what I thought about how he was doing. And so from 2011 to 2015, when he got into the presidential race, I would hear from him with some regularity, and I would hear from his people with some regularity about his interest in what I thought, what I think of this speech or this TV appearance or whatever it was. And then in 2014, Trump's interest in my thoughts and my perspective on his possible presidential run went public when a guy named McKay Coppins wrote a piece for BuzzFeed about spending a couple days with Trump. And Trump didn't much like the piece. He attacked the reporter for it. But there was one paragraph in the piece, again, this is in BuzzFeed in 2014, where McKay Coppins is in a van with Trump, or a vehicle, I forget if it was a van, after he left giving a big political speech. And here's what it says. This is McKay Coppins quoting Trump. Did Mark Halperin see it? Trump demands, referring to the co-author of the 2012 campaign book Double Down, in which he plays a starring role. Someone asked Halperin, did he see the speech? Tell him it was the biggest crowd they ever had. Tell him to watch. Okay, so that reflects a positive view of my place in the world, and my judgment, etc. Again, not my intention, not my role in life to validate him, but it showed very positive. Not very long after that, okay, that's Trump's positive view of me. Not very long after that, he was mad at me for something. I honestly don't remember what it was. And when Trump gets mad at a reporter in particular, that's what I have the most experience with. I think sometimes it's genuine anger. I think most of the time it's genuine, but at least a piece of it appears to me to be a little bit performative, a little bit attempt to intimidate. And so I did or said something, I don't remember what it was. And Trump didn't like it. And so I was in a Uber going up 6th Avenue in Manhattan, and my phone rang, and it was Trump. And I picked it up, and he was furious. Again, I wish I knew what it was, but I don't remember why. And so I didn't have it on speakerphone, but it was so loud because he was yelling at me that I held the phone down kind of, in front of my face to listen to what he was saying. And it was so loud and ferocious that the Uber driver could hear it. And he was so unsettled. I could just tell he turned his head because we were stopped for a moment, and then he started going again. He was so unsettled that he pulled the car over to the side of 6th Avenue because he couldn't drive listening to the vitriol and anger coming out of Donald Trump's mouth during the call. And so, again, in one instance, Trump very favorable towards me, very interested in my point of view, very respectful, I would say, professionally. And then, again, not too much later, white hot furor at me, not, calling and having a disagreement. That bookend of two things with me is, I think, instructive for me as I think about how can Trump say nice things about Putin and also very negative things about Putin? How can he be great friends and super close to Elon Musk and now be at this important war with Musk over the reconciliation bill? Again, it's because with Trump, no relationship is static. Nothing is final. Everything is transactional. And he always is thinking, what's going to happen next? How's this person potentially going to come back into my life? Some would say, in looking at that aspect of Trump's personality, it's a character flaw. It's untethered to principle. It's day trading. It's so situational. But others would say it's a very admirable trait and a very good one, particularly in someone who's trying to get complicated and difficult things accomplished, because he can find allies again. He's not writing people off. And people say he's vindictive. And if you look at some of the things he's doing related to Joe Biden, you could say yes, he felt he was wronged and aggrieved, and now he's going to get his revenge. And certainly you could point to 150 things he's done as president that reflect that. But you also have to say, if you look at the examples I've given you, he's incredibly forgiving. He's not caught up in the past. If the future and an alliance in the future is to his benefit or will help him achieve a goal, and that again, you see that now. If Musk continues to attack the reconciliation bill, and if it does get personal, I could see Trump being super negative. But if suddenly Musk can be an ally on something else, whatever, you could think of a million hypotheticals, he'll welcome right back in. It's unsettling for people when they first enter Trump's life. And for my Uber driver, it was very unsettling. It was a little unsettling for me. But even by then, I knew what most people who are in Trump's life on a sustained basis, the senior White House staff, the cabinet members who have been around him for some period of time, you want to stay on his good side. Of course, he's the boss and president of the United States. But if you find yourself on his bad side momentarily, Pete Hegseth, a good example, you can get back on his good side. Again, best way to start getting back on his good side is go on TV and speak favorably of him. But if you find yourself in a situation with Donald Trump where your alliance will be helpful to him, there's nothing permanent. Right back, you're right back in there, and it's incredibly liberating if you're dealing with Donald Trump when you realize that. He's yelled at me a few other times, and by the time that happened, because really that cell phone one was the first time. By the time that happened, I got the joke. Like he's if he decides it's in his interest to invite me to fly on his plane, he'll do it, even though he might have yelled at me the day before. Is not unique, right? There are mercurial people in the world, but this goes back to what I talked to Newt Gingrich about. Trump's genius in trying to get his way is he's constantly, without regard to past slights or conflict, he's constantly saying, "What can that person do for me?" And sometimes it's personal, what he can do for Trump personally, but sometimes it's what can he do for America? What can he do for some presidential project? And the smart people, whether they're cabinet members or members of Congress or world leaders, they're constantly trying to figure out, okay, I understand what Trump's doing. He's thinking in a very sophisticated way. How am I going to get this person to work in concert with me as my ally? And if you want to do that with Trump, you got to think the same thing. Okay, besides going on TV and saying nice things about him, what can I do to get back in league with Donald Trump? I say again, I've read lots of stories about Donald Trump, heard lots of chatter about him on television and YouTube and elsewhere. I don't really hear this point being made. And it's critical to understanding not just what's going on now with him and Putin and him and Musk, but it's critical to understanding his presidency and how he tries to situationally build alliances. There's no permanent alliances. There are no permanent enemies. There's just a constant melange of changing structures. That's the key to Donald Trump.